Safari Live here in Djuma, Sabi, South Africa. The weather is 24 degrees Celsius, 75 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a nice, windy, blustery, cool afternoon. And I am joined out here on camera by Senzo Mkize and myself, Steve Falconbridge. Welcome to another time and afternoon with us here. I am joined also out in the field by Brent, who is on his way out to look for the little chief, I do believe, and Taylor has gone south to Chitwa Dam. I wonder what we will be able to show you on this fabulous St. Patrick's Day. All across the world, I'm sure there's lots of people celebrating. What a wonderful day it is. So my plans for the afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, is to go and follow up on the Ingrid Dam, or should I say the Xidulu young female that was found this morning by myself and Craig on foot, with obviously the help of Herbie. We're going to go there, see what she's up to. Please, this is interactive. Please send through your questions and comments to #Safari Live or follow us on the YouTube stream. Let us know what you'd like to see. We're going to go see a leopard. I'm sure she's going to be up to something fun and interesting, and when we get there, let's see what happens. Hopefully she's in the same place. I believe she did have a little bit of a duiker kill up the tree, so shall we go and have a look as our elephants do what they do best, disappear into the bushes. So as we move on to go and find this cat from this morning, let's go over to Brent Leo Smith, who would like to say hello.
Good afternoon and welcome to a windy Sabi Sands this evening. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have Sebastien from Gabon on the camera with me today, and we're going to see if we can find either Hassana or Tandi, and they've gone into these. Oh, that is not a leopard, that is an Inyala. But this is the last sort of area where Hassana disappeared into, and we haven't had any tracks. But you see the Inyala there, Seb? So if you zoom down that little window at about 10. Oh, wait, let me see, my monitor's got a bit of glare. A little bit wider, just so I can see where you are. It's a difficult one. I'm on the wrong. There it is. Okay, a little bit to the right. A little bit to the right. Wait, stop. Back a little, left a little. Center frame. There we go. There's a little female Inyala hiding in the thickets. Now, one of the reasons it can be quite difficult to find big cats in windy weather like this is because we can't hear the alarm calls clearly. And Inyala better watch out, because it is good hunting weather, and Hassana is a bit of a glutton, so if there's an opportunity to catch something, he will definitely take that. Now remember, this is 100% live, and you can ask us questions on Twitter using #Safari Live, or you can just pop it into whichever feed you might be watching. And there we go. Let's keep moving. Now the wind is actually affecting my hearing there a little bit. So I heard there was a question from Dale, but I didn't quite hear what it was. Dale is wondering, is the wind cold this afternoon? Oh, it's not particularly cold. It's about 24 degrees Celsius. But the wind is a bit chilly. I mean, I've got a jersey on, but it's not too cold. But I think it will get quite chilly as we go further on into the evening. Now, I'm hoping that with this windy weather we do find a leopard, preferably one on the move, because it is excellent hunting weather for the leopards, so fingers crossed. And I'm really hoping we might find Tandi. It'd be nice to see the cub for the first time. But I'm not in any particular rush to do anything today, just really enjoying being back in the Lowveld. Now, some of you who watch my Facebook would have seen quite an amusing post that I popped up on Facebook today. So it was a double-edged sword coming back to work when I did, because on the reserve where my parents are, the afternoon I came back to work, they released a male cheetah from the boma, and this morning, it was yesterday actually, sorry, they were catching lions and to move onto the reserve. And one of the guys who lives on the reserve, who's actually my parents' next door neighbor, has a safari wine club, and he volunteered his wine delivery mobile. So probably the first only time you'll see a wine delivery van with pictures of the Cape winelands all over it, and you open the door, 3 adult lionesses inside. So probably a good advert to avert hijacking. You would imagine the fright if someone had to steal that vehicle and open it up and find lions instead of booze. But anyway, let's go say good afternoon to the very loud, the very gregarious, and today the very green Taylor McCurdy.
Brent, you've ruined my surprise now. I was going to see how long it could take me. Well, not take me, because I know my face is painted green, but how long it would take you to figure out my face is green. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Craig. And this is a live and interactive safari. Perhaps you've never joined us on a safari before. Remember, you can hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or talk to us via the YouTube chat. Now, we're hopefully not going to be like St. Patrick and chasing snakes on into the sea. We shall just let them be out here in the wilderness. Although I don't know if we're going to see too many snakes now. Maybe a little bit later they come slithering out onto the road to try and get the last of the warmth. Brent always likes to describe these days after we've had a little bit of a drizzle as snaky days, which is quite right. Now, we're down at Chitwa, and if you have a little look, you can see how windy it is. Obviously, we've all been talking about the wind this afternoon and how Brent's saying it's quite difficult to hear the alarm calls. Now, I don't think we're going to head down to the dam just yet, just because I do know that there are a lot of guests in camp and they're probably having high tea. So what I thought we would do is get a head start and go down into the Mulwanini, which is another river system. It's a dry riverbed at the moment. Also, I suppose it doesn't flow either, like the Mulwati. And hopefully if we're down in there with all the big trees lining the banks of the Mulwanini, we should be able to hear some of the alarm calls. And Tingana, I believe, killed a baby waterbuck, if I'm not mistaken, at room number 5 and sort of stashed it in their shower. So maybe he's still around. I don't know what other leopard would be brave enough to go into a shower and steal it. So hopefully he's around. Maybe we catch him having a drink. But that's sort of our plan this afternoon. And who knows? I know the Sticks Pride are also about at the moment. They're just in an area where we don't have signal, but they, of course, have got legs and can move. Hopefully they come this way, or at least into an area where we can view them. So that's the plan. Well, it seems as though all the animals that normally frequent this area have disappeared to get out of the wind. Maybe going down into the drainage line is a good idea. But off you go across to Steve, who seems to be peeking around a corner.
Yes, we've just come off road. We've just come around and Djuma bound. Look what we spotted in the tree. Since it's not in the best position, I might have to move forward. There she is. Let me just go forward an inch. Sorry about that, folks. Isn't that marvelous? A female leopard as relaxed as they can be, just hanging around in a marula tree. Isn't that fantastic? So this morning on walk, for those of you who weren't watching, we were about 2 minutes out of camp with the magician Herbie, who's our expert tracker, and I told him about the movements of leopard yesterday, and he said, okay, cool, well, let's go along this particular sort of road, see if we can find any tracks. And 30 seconds on that road, this female climbed down a marula tree and ran and hid behind a termite mound, and we got a marvelous view of her on foot. It was absolutely magical. Craig, who's been up with us in the Mara for the last few months, is back. It's his first bushwalk. Herbie's first bushwalk in a few days. He's been off. And how fantastic is that we were able to see her, and now we're able to come back in the afternoon and get her again with the camera, because we didn't get any proper look at her this morning. But that is what leopards are like on foot. That's what they're like on foot. They're very, very hard to see. You're not going to take many, many photos. You're only going to have a quick look, and they might disappear, as you saw this morning. Thanks for those of you who tagged me in some of the pictures and sent them to me on Twitter. All I can see is her head looking at us over the Djuma mountain. Absolutely magical. Dale, she is super relaxed. Super relaxed. We're still trying to figure out how it is and what it is that, or I believe it's a daycare that she took up the tree, but how she got it Does she steal it from the hyena? It's very hard, really, to understand. But the kill is up on the other side of the tree there. Sense can't really see it. But I just thought we'd give you this quick view as we're coming into the sighting. We are going to go a bit closer. As you can see, she's very relaxed. But I've never seen this female before. But you can see the typical famous photo of leopards in the Sabi sands draped over the marula tree. I have seen this many times on social media. And here we have the quintessential photo. Isn't that marvelous? Sense, we're going to go a bit closer. Okay, folks, just bear with us. We're going to just reposition, go back over to Brent, see what updates he has for you.
Well, no signs of a sign coming out of that block yet, but with the strong winds and whatnot, it can easily cover up tracks, and there's also been quite a lot of elephant activity around here. I'm also taking a little gander down to where I think Tundi's cub has been left. Tundi's tracks crossed into Torchwood this morning, but if she's going to come back, if she's made a kill in Torchwood, the most likely route for her to come back to fetch the cub, which is somewhere in these horrible little drainage lines that we can't get a vehicle into, will be down Hippo Pools Road. So I just want to go have a quick look. Now, last I heard, tracks of the Inkahumas around Hunter's Moon and Susson's Dam, so quite far, quite deep inside Buffalo's Hook. So, and don't think they're going to be around. Now, I found lots of tracks of the Birmingham boys up and down on Gowrie Main, but unfortunately they also went south into Little Gowrie. So this is the area where I think the cub is at the moment, and you can see it's the headwaters. Well, headwaters, no water in it at the moment, but it's the beginning of these little river systems that eventually join the Mawati, and near impossible to get a vehicle in there. And even if we could, I don't think we'd get much of a visual, because that cub will be lying low, specifically in this really windy weather. And as it is dangerous for impala and kudu and inyala in this windy weather, it is equally as dangerous for a little leopard cub, because its senses, especially while mom's not around, its senses are impaired by all the wind noise. And the wind's also not blowing solidly, it's gusting and it's swirling and it's changing direction. But I'll be on bushwalk tomorrow, so I think we'll come have a proper little mission through these drainage systems and see if we can find anything on foot. And she's come back. Tundi has come back since I was here this morning, and she's left again. Let me just show you quickly. Or maybe she hasn't left. I'm going to have to quick look here. So that's her leaving this morning. And you can see the edges really rounded by the strong winds. This is her coming back during the day. And you can actually see the edges are quite a lot sharper, easier to see. So I'm going to try to figure out what's going on here. And while I do that, let's send you back to the man who has already got a leopard, Steve.
Yes, we do. Thanks very much, Brent. How exciting would that be if we managed to get, or he manages to get, Tundi and her cub for you this afternoon? Leopard trifecta, and yes, and she is looking rather plump with her dacre meat inside, and she's just having a little bit of a doze. Let's hope she doesn't fall out of the tree. That would be quite something. You can see how full her belly is. As Scott was saying, when he found her this morning, she didn't look like she'd eaten at all. So how she came across this dacre is really difficult to say. You know, the wonders of the bush, things that happen out here, who knows what could have happened. I mean, the hyena catching a dacre, that's possible. It's possible. But I mean, all Scott saw was her running away from a hyena with a dacre in her jaws and climbing the tree. There is the remains of the dacre. You can see how windy it is this afternoon. As Brent said, difficult to hear the alarm calls because of this blustering breeze. But cats do enjoy these conditions. She's drying her meat out in the air. It'll probably be good. We'll keep the flies away. You don't get too many flies in wind like this, which is quite nice. So that meat won't get too many maggots on it. Just being spoken to on the radio, folks. Just stand by for a second. Standing by. No, affirmative, yes. We've got quite a nice visual from this side. You're welcome to join. If you just pull in directly behind me, you can actually go straight on facing her. You'll get a good view. One of the landowners from Buffelshoek obviously would like to come and see this beautiful cat. Wouldn't you, if you had the potential right now to get in your Land Rover, Land Cruiser, drive over here and come and have a look at her? Yes, I know you would. Hello, Ravinda. Good afternoon to you. You want to know if Hukumuri and Xidulu are making Djuma their home? It seems as if Hukumuri is. This is the first time I've seen this female. I think she was spotted by Tristan about a month and a half ago, but there's been no other sightings of her that I know of since then, that I know of. I could be mistaken, but it's possible that she's moved in. I mean, apparently she's quite a young cat, so she might be moving in and taking some claim to the area. Maybe a lot of the time when Herbie's been saying tracks around our camp are Tundi, it's possible that they've been this female. But it's really, really hard without having any GPS on the leopards, without having any camera traps or anything that might sort of follow their movements directly or see exactly where they're moving, to know where she's coming from and where she's going. What we do know is she is in the heart of Djuma right now. I can show you shortly on the map to show you exactly where she is. I think Scott might have done so this morning. But actually she's not in the heart as I look at the map. She's a little more to the west. So it's possible she's sharing our boundary. So we're here on a road called Aubrey's, which is quite far sort of west. But we found her this morning over here. So 2 minutes from our camp, which is over here. We walked across there, got her, and then Scott followed her all the way through the block. We're about over there. So it's possible that she's using Arethusa and our western boundary. She might even be going north into Buffelshoek. Who actually knows? I mean, even down here into Little Gowrie below us, it's really hard to say. But Tundi's spending most of her time in this sort of area now, sort of between Yala Road and Drakensberg and Cheetah Cutline. I think that's where Brent is saying she is in and out on the cutline here. Whereas Hukumuri has moved in. Sort of he's come in along this road, Shabamu, which I've had Tingana in my first week here scent marking on, and I followed him all the way up to this section over here, and we've seen him stealing a kill from Tingana right at Vuetela Dam, and this seems to be sort of the middle section that he's moved into. So very hard really to see, but it's awesome to be able to play and to look on the map and see where these leopards are moving to and what they're up to. But Tristan will be back on Monday, and I'm sure he'll be able to update you very, very formally on the makings and the doings of the leopards in the area. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It is a really dynamic situation, but let's go back to her. Isn't she gorgeous? Absolutely beautiful. Hello, Francis from Israel. He wants to know if leopards ever fall out of trees. I've only seen a youngster fall out of a tree, but it was actually playing around and it just kind of slipped and it just sort of landed on its feet and bounced off again. So it didn't hurt itself. But then once upon a time I did see a female get taken out of a tree by a male, and she actually got killed. That was on a video done in the Sabi Sands. The male leopard chased her cub up the tree and was actually going to kill it, and she went up to obviously try and support her cub, and he ended up ripping her out the tree, landing on her back, and then he dispatched her. It's very sad to watch, but it is what happens in these environments. She did put her life on the line for her cub, and she lost it she lost it then. But leopards are very agile in trees. I've never seen one like this fall out. She's got her weight quite nicely distributed there. Very good balance with the tail. And I think her left front foot is just there to support her in case something happens. like I said, is quite windy. I was up a tree just like this yesterday, and it was quite tricky holding on, to be honest, but then my nails are not designed for keeping me hoisted and anchored in a tree. But beautiful sights to see, how she can just lie there, have a little nap, not a worry in the world. She's drying her meat. The wind is cooling her off we had some extremely hot temperatures the last few days. Today is wonderfully cool. Joy wants to know if big cats land on their feet, like domestic cats. And the leopards I've seen sort of jump out of a tree do. They land very, very well on their feet. Even we had one of the Birmingham boys go up and steal one of Tundi's kills, and he jumped down and he landed on his feet. Quite an effort it was when he landed. But, I mean, yeah, my brother used to be quite naughty when he was younger, and he'd hold our cat kind of upside down by the legs and then drop it, and it would always land on its feet. So I'm not sure if leopards have that ability. I've never seen it that close up, but I have a feeling that they are very, very agile and very able to keep their feet in their balance. She's just having a little snooze, folks. Are we interrupting her afternoon nap, I wonder? So she does have a very nice view, so anything does materialize or come nearby, she will probably go and stalk and take it down if she can, but in the moment she is having a snooze. But let's go over to Brent and see if he's managed to make any head or tail of those tracks.
Well, she came in, fetched the cub, and she's headed towards our eastern boundary. So I'm checking very, very carefully. Now, one of the main reasons I'm checking carefully, not only is it very windy today, but this is a very well-used access road. So there is a possibility that someone might have driven over the tracks while they were going about their daily business. So it means I'm going to inch along this road and to see if I can spot any tracks. There's always a possibility they could be holed up in this block. It's one of the biggest sort of blocks without any roads in it on Djuma, and had some wonderful sightings in there of Djuma, the big male. He had a kudu kill just around here, and we spent a wonderful few days habituating him. Hello, Maketsi, who's a new viewer. So, Maketsi, when my head is off the car like this, it means I'm looking for footprints, just in case you were wondering. But Maketsi says, can't the animals sense you are there? And aren't they afraid of human beings? Yes, there is an instinctive fear that animals have of human beings. Human beings are the dominant diurnal predator in the savanna biome. We have been, well, actually in all biomes, we have been for the last 200 to 250,000 years. Now, in areas like this, when you're in a vehicle has only been around for just over 100 years, so the animals do not have an ingrained instinctive response to it. So what happens is if you drive carefully and considerately in your car, you can get quite close to them, and when we do get off the vehicle to track on foot, basically as soon as we get the closest glimpse of the animal that we are tracking, we'll head back to the vehicle, because they are generally a lot more comfortable around vehicles than they are around human beings on foot. Now, of course, there are always exceptions to the rule, and Hosana, Shongile, Karula are all very relaxed leopards on foot. So it all depends, but you must realize in this area people have been tracking leopards on foot for safaris for since the late 1960s. So there's I suppose they're not 100% fine with it, but most of the time they know you're not going to try hurt them or chase them or harass them. So the animals here are quite relaxed, and you can get very close to them, and I'm hoping we'll be able to show you one close up in not too long a time. Now, the wonderful thing about being live, and while I go very slowly down the road here looking for tracks, is you never really know what you could find. So while I'm looking for a leopard, a lion might pop up, a wild dog might pop up, even the largest animal in the land animal in the whole world, the African elephant. And so while I keep scouring the ground looking for tracks, of Tundi and Cub. Now, Tundi is a leopard. Taylor's got something that will try avoid leopards and lions at all costs. Let's go find out what it is.
Well, it's actually something that I haven't seen in a long time. Now, I'm not talking about the fact that they're waterbuck, but the fact that it's the largest bachelor group of waterbuck I think I've ever seen in the Sabi sand. And, I mean, of course they occur. We get lots of bachelor groups of animals. So what I mean by bachelor is that it's all the males together, young and old, all waiting to one day have their chance at being in charge of a breeding herd. But for now, they're buddies, and they're all just relaxing down in this little dip. So we're in a little drainage at the moment at the most eastern corner of Chitwa Dam, and it's a good spot for these waterbuck. It is very sheltered. You can see the grass is not really moving around too much. You might even be able to hear the birds tweeting in the background, which we weren't able to hear when we were up on the top of the open plains. It's quite nice. Like I said, young and old, youngsters that have just recently been kicked out of the breeding herds. Don't seem too perturbed though. Finishing off lunch. And there's a couple of rocks in the background. Those are of course not rocks. Those are hippos that you may be able to see every now and then too. Oh, hello. That's very nice of that hippo to say hello and yawn. I love the way they wave their heads around too. Maybe the hippos are going to leave the water a little bit earlier tonight, because I think it's going to be nice and cool. I'm surprised they aren't actually making use of the day and grazing at the moment. And the others have decided that they're just going to sit down and catch up on some sleep. Now, we do have our rain roofs on, so every now and then when Craig does pan around, you will see a couple of bars here and there, or perhaps a canvas top or a flap. And that's just in preparation. Though it doesn't look like it's going to rain. The clouds are pretty high now. You can see it's quite light. I would wish we could get some rain, though. Now, As course is not really what I was trying to say. I was trying to say, of course. We do see bachelor groups of waterbuck. We do. I just haven't seen so many. And Sinak, you're wondering, what is the typical size? Well, I suppose that depends on a number of different things, Sinak. I suppose it depends on food availability, you know, how many waterbuck are in the area. I would say a common amount is between 5 to about 8 or so, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And I'm counting might be a couple more in the bushes. So say there's about 16 or 17 here, quite easily. Craig, do you know what else I've just seen? I'm going to start the car. Well, I don't think you can get it, but straight ahead, where that water there on the wire is a kingfisher. Oh, you can. I don't even have to move. Look at that. Who is this tiny little critter? Who's ready for a bird game? I know that I am. Who do you think will win the competition today? Not that there's any real competition, I'm just saying for fun. I'd like to know from you what kingfisher you think that this is. Hashtag Safari Live, or talk to us via the YouTube chat. And yes, let's see who can guess this. Is that as close as we can get? Because we want to give everybody the best possible chance. There's some key features there. I'm not pointing them out though, not yet. We'll discuss that in a little bit. But very, very nice to see. I haven't seen this little one for a very, very long time. Ooh, very nice. Very nice indeed. Right. Oh, very nice. Well, we had some comms problems a little bit earlier, so that's why we disappeared for quite some time. So I don't know if you know what Steve's got lying about.
Yes, everybody knows what we've got this side. And what are all the viewers' comments on Taylor McCurdy's face? I got a bit of a shock when she walked out of the bathroom, and then did a small shamrock on my face, just a small one. And she has painted herself very green indeed, Miss McCurdy. Definitely getting into the spirit of St. Patrick's Day. I wonder if this young lady up the tree is interested in coming and joining us for a little party later. I don't think so. She looks like she's preoccupied with her nap. Oh, isn't that just so precious? She's having a bit of a nap there. See how she's slowly. I wonder if we're going to get her live on air falling out the tree. All of you viewers are asking if they do fall, so it'd be wonderful to see what happens if she does slip. They are very agile, so even if she fell, I'm sure she would be okay. And quite a few bushes underneath the tree as well. It's actually really super cool to see how long their tail actually is. You don't really notice it when they're walking. It's always flicking. It's got almost a life of its own, but now you can kind of see it in its glory hanging down, and it gives you a really good indication of the length, in fact, of how long their tail is. It's at least as long as her body. Perfect for balancing up in the trees. And a beautiful Catterday we are having indeed. Beautiful Catterday. St. Patrick's Day Catterday. Marvellous. We're probably going to spend some time with this female, unless something else happens out there and we need to move out, but I'm sure she's going to give us something at some point. She might move across and have another little munch. The light periodically comes out of the clouds behind us to light up those beautiful golden rosettes. The weather has surely pulled in, but there's been no rain. We were very disappointed with last night's performance. We are prepared for it though. We do have the roofs on, so we don't have to leave the sighting to go put a roof on. We are prepared to cover everything if need be. There, she's nodding off. She's catching herself every time. Oh, isn't that gorgeous? I'm sure many of you viewers out there have seen this sort of picture before, but I can never get enough of it. I can never get enough of it. Leopard draped over a marula tree. That beautiful look on their face sometimes. That beautiful tail. Those very strong legs. Those paws. Hello, Komora. You want to know if any of the leopards have seen any of the guides have seen a black leopard? I don't know. Oh, well, I haven't. Brett seems to have travelled quite a bit more in Africa than I have. He might have seen something like that. I've never, though. I wonder if we can maybe go to him shortly and see if he's seen one. I don't even know where you'd find one, to be honest. There we go. Okay, so I believe Taylor's got some answers for your bird quiz. Let's go over to her and see who's won.
Well, I'm impressed with the responses, especially because I couldn't speak English and asked you the question properly. So try that again. The quiz was, what species of kingfisher do we have here? That's probably what I should have said. And Debbie, you've said the malachite. Oh, it's just dropped into the grass. No, come back. No, it's flown into the bush willow. That's a little bit disappointing. But Seanak and Willow, well done to you, well done to you. You guessed correctly in saying that it's the pygmy kingfisher. That's the one. Shall we have a look why? Shall we start with why it's not a malachite? Let's do that. Now, the malachite is the kingfisher we're seeing lots of in the Mara. We're very lucky. And I said that one of the key identifying features was the fact that it had a blue eyebrow. So you can see quite a bit of blue on it, around its head. Just like the pygmy has, it's also got a white spot behind its neck and underneath its throat. So that can be a bit confusing. But the difference is if I just go out and I go into the pygmy, look how pink it is. You see that? And also, it's got an orange eyebrow rather than just a blue, sort of the blue covering right at the top of the crown of the head and going down towards the eye. So let's have a look at a few pictures. Look at that. Very vibrant in colour, and you could clearly see that sort of purples that was on that bird sitting on the wire. Whereas if I go out of here again and we have a look at the malachite, we look at a real photo. Look at that. You see the differences there? And I'll scroll, have another look. That's a really good example of a malachite. Very cool. The feet and the beak also match with the malachite. Is it the same with the pygmy? Do they also have red feet? Yeah, they also have bright red beaks. Beautiful birds, there are lots of orange on them. And very, very nice to see. Very cool. Smallest kingfisher that we see in Africa. Very cool. I can't tell you actually when I last saw a pygmy kingfisher. It's been a long time. I didn't see any in the Mara, so that was at least 6 months. And then I couldn't tell you when. Oh, someone else has landed on the wire. Now, Steve, you were wondering if I've ever seen a black leopard before. Never. Not even once in my life. But I have seen a black fork-tailed drongo. This is the one that we're looking at, and it's on a wire. On this wire that both the kingfisher and the drongo is sitting on. It's basically a small electric fence. It's 3 strands, quite high off of the ground. It's basically an elephant wire, so it's really there just to keep the elephants out. And it's not going to stop a buffalo going through. The waterbuck quite happily just tilt their heads back and lower their horns, and they can go through too. Even the hippos can still go underneath there, just to keep those pesky elephants out that like to eat the succulents, because they'll come through and destroy it. But it also provides a handy perch for birds to sit on, to look for insects in the long grass. It's quite nice. So, like that pygmy kingfisher did it, dive down into the grass. Craig, there it is, on an even better perch. Do you see on that tamboti? There's a little branch on this main tamboti to the left of us that goes out. Please don't let the wire be in. It's perfect. How cool, it came back. Hello, thank you for coming back. That's a much better spot. And look at it bouncing around, trying to focus, looking for more insects. I bet there's lots around here. This is a great spot. Again, because it's sheltered, I don't think any insects are going to want to be flying around in the wind. It also might be a bit chilly for them. Now, I don't know how great of a day it's going to be for the birds that are feeding on insects. They might have to spend some time digging around in the grass. Oh my goodness. Paula, you asked us how many kingfisher species are there in the entire world. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, I think there's 16 species in southern Africa. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 species in southern Africa. Don't have my massive bird book with me, so I'm not going to be able to tell you how many are in the whole of Africa, but in the whole world, my goodness, you're going to have to ask Google that question, or perhaps Brent knows. Maybe Brent can get to Google before we come back to him and he can take the glory for it. But I'm sure there are lots. I know you get kingfishers in India. I'm pretty sure you get them in Sri Lanka too, and in quite a few of the European countries there are a few too. So what ones there are though, I'm not 100% sure, but it would be quite nice. They're beautiful birds. I quite enjoy the giant kingfisher. They're very pretty, and those beaks are so impressive. Although, even though this one is a teeny tiny little kingfisher, their beak is still very, very sharp. Look at that. Focused as well, so focused. Perhaps it's seen something. Look at that. I don't think I could sit that still ever. I love the way that it's just lifting its wings slightly. I wonder why it's doing that. What you doing? Waving. Hello. Gone. That's back on its perch and it's just sitting on the other side. Oh, there we go. Look, there's another one. Did it get an insect? No, it's not another one. It's the same one. Oh, my goodness. Amelia, you're wondering if I've ever seen the kingfisher's eggs before. I don't think I've ever seen any kingfisher's eggs. And you're wondering what color are they in particular. I haven't. You know what I've actually got? I've got a really cool book on eggs of birds, and I'm not sure. I'd imagine they'd be white. So we see if it talks about the eggs. This app I've got on my phone is pretty good, so I'm just going to quickly scroll through it and see if it does say anything about nests. There we go. Eggs, glossy white, spherical in shape. Oh, Craig, we've got intruders. This is going to be cool. Okay, we'll keep looking at the kingfisher, but there's some animals going to come walk right past us. I'm just not going to reposition now because I think we're in quite a cool spot. And I'm sure they're going to come down this way. Hello. I'm going to try and not tell you what they are. Hello, animals. Hello, hello, hello. Please be lots of you. Come here. Come this way. Did you bring peanuts, Craig? No? Craig's laughing at me. I didn't think it's funny. It was a serious question. But that's really cool to see the little kingfisher. Okay, I'll reposition because I think I must look at what I need to show you. You all just stop there like that, like I've done something wrong. Also, we've got the rain roof on, so we can't be doing too much swiveling. What's happened to my words? Happy St. Patrick's Day. Look at that. Very cool. Hello, elephants that just snuck up on us. So how nice is that? We came down to Chitwa Dam, found some waterbuck, then had a little look around, found a kingfisher and a fork-tailed drongo. Got the kingfisher again, which was pretty spectacular. And then I heard some crashing of branches, and even some footsteps in the sand. Maybe that wasn't footsteps, maybe it was other things being dropped out of their backsides onto the ground. Hi, big girl. Now, most of you, if you're wondering why am I talking to the elephants, you have to talk to elephants, you really do. They're so intelligent. Hello. Do you mind if we sit here, or would you like me to move out your way a little bit, big girl? Which pathway are you going to go? You're going to go there? Would you like to go this way, to the right? Now, they're all being... No. Settle down now, Nancy. Settle. You can see that they're obviously a little bit uneasy, and I don't blame them on a windy day like today. They can't hear as well as what they normally would. I'd actually think they would have been a little bit more relaxed now because there isn't much wind around us. And like I said, you could hear the birds tweeting. It's okay. Yes, I can understand. You can totally watch me and keep an eye out on me. I promise we won't make any sudden movements. We'll put our hands out where you can see them. Hey, big girl. Hello. Are you wondering what this weird thing is on top of the car? Maybe they're not used to roofs. Perhaps that's the case. Well, we're definitely going to follow this herd of elephants. I suspect they're going for a drink. Brent has had a great time searching the interweb, so perhaps he's going to answer the question about the kingfishers.
I do not have the answer about the kingfishers, unfortunately. I can tell you how many kingfishers there are in Africa. I've seen all kingfisher species in Africa apart from one. So we have, we'll start south and move north. We have, striped, brown-hooded, mangrove, woodlands, grey-hooded, pygmy, malachite, pied, giant. That covers most of your savanna species, if I'm thinking. Yes, that covers all of them, in fact. Then we have chocolate-backed, shining blue, and African dwarf as well. And what am I forgetting? Chocolate-backed, shining blue, African dwarf, common kingfisher. And there's a third one. Is there one I'm missing? I don't think so. So that puts us at about 13, 14 species of kingfisher in Africa. Now, of course, and depending on where you are in the world, because there are a lot of kingfisher species in the east, in Asia and Australia, not as many in Europe and in the North Americas. But yes, I'm sure if I had to random a guess, so you guys are going to have to see how close my guesswork is. I'm going to say there are between 60 and 70 kingfisher species worldwide. You let me know if I'm right. #SafariLive, please. Now, I'm hoping Hasana has headed here because I don't know if there's any water in this pan system, but if there is, it's probably the closest water to the block where he's been lying up in all day. So I haven't been past these pans here on Nyala Road South, so we're about to find out. But if there is water, it's a very good spot. Steve was wondering whether I've ever seen a black leopard in the wild. I have. I was very, very lucky when I was quite young, so there is water. Now let's look for tracks. I was quite young, and we were actually on a school run in northern Natal in Zululand, and we saw a black leopard. It was seen a couple of times and then never again. I've caught black leopards on camera trap before that in the Central African rainforests, but I've only ever seen one in all my life, and that's more than most. Okay, now, Sana, have you come for a drink here, or have you bamboozled us and gone the complete opposite way? Well, I'm going to continue searching for not black leopard. I'm going to search for a normal leopard. While I do that, let's go back across to Steve.
Master indeed, thank you very much, Brent. Of course Brent has seen a black leopard. And we have got a golden one with lovely spots. So it doesn't look like this beautiful female is going to be getting up to too much in the next little while. So we're thinking shortly we might leave, go do a little bit of a bumble around, see what else we might be able to find. Maybe we can find that one elusive kingfisher that Brent has not seen, and we can add that to our list. Which kingfisher that might be, I'm actually not sure. I didn't get that, but I'd like to know which kingfisher Bex. Brent. Maybe go find some more birds, an elephant or two, and then we'll obviously come back before it gets too late and see what this young lady has gotten up to. By the look of things, I don't think she'll be getting up to too much. But a marvellous start to the afternoon Catterday, St. Patrick's Day for everybody around there. Toast our apple juice this evening to all of those of you who watch our show and send through all your wonderful comments and questions. We shall raise a glass of apple juice to everyone out there. And Krista wants to know if I know if Xidulu's had any cubs. I do not, actually, Krista. She's a very new leopard for me, but I will find out. I know Tristan, when he gets back on Monday, I think he will, or he gets back tomorrow. Does he? I think he gets back tomorrow or Monday. He will probably know. He knows his female from before, but apparently she's a young leopard, so she just moved into the area. So it's possibly unlikely that she has. Maybe she's just coming into her prime, but then I am only assuming here. I have absolutely no idea. But hopefully she decides to stay, so we don't get too much activity of a female leopard on the western side. So folks, have one last look at this beautiful female in the golden sunlight, because we are going to be leaving her shortly to do a little bumble around and see what other content we can provide for you this afternoon. And while we do that, let's go back over to Taylor McCurdy, who's found some elephants drinking.
How great is this? This day just keeps on giving, doesn't it? I mean, I heard of elephants that so thankful for. I was very thankful that they walked past and, didn't throw a tantrum. They were quite happy to move past us, even on this windy day. And look, they're at the water now, having a drink. And perhaps some of the younger elephants will just drop on down into the water and have a good old swim. It's not too cold. It's, like I said, it's so sheltered down in this corner. It's quite nice, in fact, so it wouldn't surprise me. Although I've seen elephants swimming on cold, rainy days, so perhaps they don't mind, whatever the weather. A happy elephant is one that is submerged in water. At the moment, they're just wanting to get their ankles wet, although it looks like the cows are sort of ushering everyone on forward. This is awesome. Aidan, now, you've asked me a question. I'm still searching for one myself, basically, so I can't really answer you. But your question is, are there any leprechauns in South Africa? Now, Aidan, I've actually been searching for leprechauns since I was your age, since I was 6 years old, and I've seen their tracks everywhere, but I can't find them. I don't know where they are. Craig, have you ever seen a leprechaun? Have you ever found a pot of gold? Not recently. That suggests that you found one before, though. Please enlighten us more about this hunt for the leprechaun and when you found it at the end of your pot of gold. See, Aiden, Uncle Craig goes exploring on his bike, so he can go to places where no people can go to in the car. So perhaps you'll have to ask Craig one day to share his story about the day he found a leprechaun and a pot of gold. I'm just concerned as to why he didn't share any of that gold with us, Craig. It's very selfish. He could have bought us lunch. Now, because these elephants are getting further and further into the water, Craig and I were wondering of what the hippos were going to think about it, if they were perhaps going to be upset by the fact, and I think he is. I don't know, is that pole going to be in the way? Oh no. There's a big hippo standing out of the water, so you can see that it's not very deep there at all. It's just when they drop down and lay on their bellies that they're able to cover themselves with a bit of water. Let's see, are you going to open your mouth and tell everybody how unhappy you are? Because they are getting quite close to one another, although there is a lot of water here. And we were chatting about this not so long ago, about conflict between hippos and animals that come down to their watering holes. Because theoretically, this actually rightfully belongs to the hippos. They spend more than half their day in here. The elephants just come down every now and then to have a drink or so. Sometimes splash around in the water too. But perhaps because everything is nice and green, the dams are full, there isn't going to be much competition, and they will both just leave one another alone. I mean, I haven't seen any thrashing of water. The hippos haven't been, creating big wakes and trying to scare the elephants. The elephants haven't slapped their trunks down on the water or trumpeted back at the hippos. It's always a nice sound when the hippos make it. What a lovely day at Chitwa Dam. See? Just when you think that you're not going to see lots of things. Look at this. Now, Mary, you said, why do the elephants line up so closely when they take a drink? I wonder if they maybe are uncertain that there's crocodiles or something in here. We typically see that when big breeding herds go down, they do sort of huddle together with all the little ones, because it's not uncommon for a crocodile to snap at a hippo. I used to see it in Zambia, and I've showed you all a photo of when we saw a crocodile latching onto an elephant's tail, which was quite cool, that a guest of mine snapped. And there was that amazing footage, I forget where it was from, where a crocodile got hold of an elephant's trunk, and it was a young elephant that had walked off on its own. So perhaps they do that, because what crocodile would want to be underneath the feet of a herd of 10 elephant? I think it'd be quite dangerous, and so perhaps it's a safety thing. You can see all the little ones were sort of in the middle too. So I think that might be the reason why. Sometimes they all just line up on the bank though, like that's how they started, but as soon as they went into deeper water, they all huddled up together. No swimming, as you can see, for the elephants. They just came down for a drink, got their knees wet, rolled their pants up and their sleeves, and now they're going to carry on with their day. Probably head back into the thickets along the drainage lines, where they'll feed happily out of the wind. The wind is now howling through here. The whole car is shaking. Goodness, we're going to have to put jerseys on soon, I reckon. Hey, Craig? It's getting up to that time, hey? And the hippos seem happy as well. It's all looking good down here. I'm going to, after this, we're going to go and check around behind the dam wall, because we did hear a bushbuck shouting, but it didn't shout for very long. It just let off 3 barks, so I don't know what that was, or what had stirred it. Ooh. Anyways, we'll do a bit of investigating and see what's going on around here. Steve seems to have found himself in some Saturday afternoon traffic.
How was that? It wasn't so bad. It wasn't as bad as the other day when Senzo had to help me and he won the award for the best sound effects. He wasn't even wearing a mic. Senzo, I'm not going to try relive the sounds you made the other day. It was rather disturbing. For some reason, elephants are absolutely smashing the silver cluster leaves. I'm not too sure why. What have the silver cluster leaves done to the elephants? See, there's another one. Scott and I think maybe it's got to do with the seed. We saw the grass in the seed, but that doesn't mean you have to. Okay, now it's Senzo's turn. You're going to come, Senzi. Let's go. We need two. We need two for this. Senz, you're going to give me a hand?
Yeah.
Good. I need all the help I can get. All the help I can get. Now please, just no crazy sounds this time, Senz. Oh, I don't know, this one's pretty big. So it's, oh no. You know what, eh? This is too big, Senz. This is too big. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh. Okay, we're just going to give that one up right away. That one is going to need a little bit more sense. No, we're going to break something. You know, we still have to work, ladies and gentlemen. We still have to work. Senzo is quite keen, but sorry about that. That was a very poor performance from our side. We'll call it in. We'll get Rex or one of the guys to come in. It is a Rex. So folks, we're losing some signal. The silver cluster leaf becks. The elephants are smashing them over. We're not quite sure. Scott and I have been chatting about that. Here, Senz has grabbed a little pod. You can see. And we're eating some of these the other day, and actually they got a rather sort of sweet taste. Nothing like the berries I was eating this morning. This one's actually quite bland. There's nothing to it. A few days old. Up on the northern section, we might lose some signal here. Okay, so we are losing signal because we're in the northwestern section, so we're going to go over to Brent and see what he's got.
Welcome back. We are still devoid of heartbeats in this part of the world. I'm still convinced Hassan is around here, but I'm not going to go tracking too hard. I'm hoping that he's just going to pop up. He does that from time to time. The other reason is I'm coming to check this area. Haven't been here yet, so this is a road I haven't driven on since I've been back. So I'm quite enjoying just bumbling about, getting reacquainted with Djuma. Went past one of my favorite trees a little bit earlier, so very nice. And we're going to go see what we can find down towards the Moati next. So down towards what's the road called? I've forgotten. Oh, Leopard Road. Always one of my favorite roads when you've had no luck with leopards for a long time. Check Leopard. I don't know why, it seems to work. But since it's a little bit quiet, did you guys come back with an answer for how many kingfisher species there were in the world? So I still... Oh, about 100. About 100 to 120. So I was about 30 shy, or 50 shy, depending which way you look at it. Okay, we're about to start Leopard Road. Now, a long time ago, some of you might remember when the Birmingham Boys first made their appearance, but we will discuss that in a second. If those chagras decide to be obliging, but in this windy weather the chagras can be quite skulking, So just up ahead here, I can hear dwarf mongoose. But again, this weather. Oh, the chagras are flying away. The birds don't like this weather. The dwarf mongoose don't like this weather. Let's see. Nope. Disappeared. Now, this morning I said you guys have probably forgotten all the flowers you've been taught since I've been gone. So, here we go. A nice little flower test for you. We did one this morning. And let's do another one. And it's another yellow flower. It seems to be the yellow flowers, the only ones out and about. So, who can tell me what flower that is? I'll show you it standing upright, the way it's supposed to be. Like that. That's how you see it. And you see it's part of the pea family. If you have a look at the flower, you can see the large lower petals, and then on the inside, that's where the nectar is. That attracts the different insects. So who can tell me what flower is blowing in the wind? Now, where is it now? The one we did this morning is the one, and I was very impressed how quickly you guys got it, because it's the flower that doesn't have an English common name, and it's the host poison plant of the Acrea butterflies. There's one there. So that is the Waltharia indica. So it doesn't have an English name, only a scientific name. Waltharia indica. Let me take that one out of the way. There we go. And the Acrea butterfly larvae. I was hoping to find some. I've been looking for Waltharia that's been well eaten, because those Acrea butterflies are the larvae are very, very pretty. But remember, for those of you who weren't on the sunrise safari, they sequester hydrogen cyanide from that, and that's what makes the adults noxious. Oh! Steve's found something I haven't seen since I've been on Djuma.
Yes, thanks, Brent. We have gone up to the northwestern side. We are looking towards Buffelshoek and Sydney's Dam. I think it's called Sydney's Dam, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, Sydney's Dam, just in the north of us. And we've got a small group of buffalo that are milling around the pond there, obviously enjoying a little bit of coolness in this weather, and they've probably had quite a few drinks and maybe also a little bit of a wallow. Now, the update I got just now from the landowner who joined us in our sighting there was that he had the 3 male lions, those sort of nomadic 3 young males that have moved in, and they came from our southwestern side, and they followed the buffalo to this dam and then followed them across Buffelshoek into Manuleti. So we were hoping maybe come across here quickly, see if there's any buffalo, see if there's any lions following them, and we have found the buffalo. We can't go any closer than this because we are on the northern boundary as it is. But not a bad view of some buff from the distance. It's amazing what we can do with these cameras. You can just see the shiny horns of a number of them that are busy hanging out, ruminating, no doubt, after filling their belly with some liquids. Really a small breeding herd. You can tell that individual that's standing is a female, because the boss isn't very strong. Yes, indeed, Ravinda. I was actually thinking that myself. Ravinda's comment is that we are in the Mara with a look like this. Apart from in the Mara, there's probably about 300 more buffalo. But it is marvelous. It does look, with this open patch near this dam, quite open and clear. If we panned right or left of it, you'd quickly notice that we are nowhere near the Mara with all the trees. But sorry about the poll there, folks. But what a marvelous afternoon we are having. What else could we find after these marvelous buffalo? Who knows? As we have said many, many times, we are live and anything could happen. We could bump Hukumuri, for example, this afternoon. Who knows where he is? He hasn't been seen for a few days. He might have a cameo appearance this afternoon, decide to come in and maybe interact with that young female we were just with. Who knows what could happen on these shows? It is marvelous to be able to bring you this live from the African wilderness. And such a nice contrasting day from yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday it got very hot in the middle of the day. The afternoon was nice and cool. But you can see the seasons are changing. Winter is on its way. And soon we'll be wearing long sleeves and jackets in the mornings and late afternoons. I wonder if Mr. Hosanna has seen these buffalo and followed them. I find it so amazing, that young leopard Hosanna, how he followed those buffalo all the way through from Treehouse Dam, all the way through to Torchwood, to Chitwa, back to Torchwood. It's just so incredible that he was able to do that. And please feel free to send your questions and comments through the hashtag Safari Live. Let us know how you're all doing. Or is everybody partying on this St. Patrick's Day already and not watching the show? I wonder. There's a nice youngster looking at us. Looks like a young male. Kristen, you'd like to know how common is it to have high winds? We don't really get high winds here. The wind blowing now is probably about 80% of what it gets to. It can get a bit stronger than this, but that generally comes with a big thunderstorm, and it's sort of the high and low pressure systems moving in, lots of convection currents going up on very hot days, pulls in these cold fronts, and with them come lots and lots of wind. But we had a tornado that moved through sort of just above the escarpment about 6 months ago or so, and it tore some trees down, destroyed some forestry, but it's not common in this part of the world. Climatic conditions here are relatively stable, apart from the odd thunderstorm and a little bit of bluster. We don't get too many cyclones, but they did happen to have one last year that came in from the Indian Ocean coast, and it caused all sorts of chaos along our seaboard, all the way down to Cape Town even, with very, very high seas. But it doesn't happen very often. And generally in the summer months, only late in the afternoon, you might get a bit of a blustery sort of feel as the heat of the day turns into sort of cool, rainy conditions. But in winters are generally quite chilled, with very clear skies and almost no wind what to speak of, because the sun is beating down on the ground, but it's not very hot. You don't get these incredible upward drafts of heat. It's not taking a lot of moisture up, so we don't get these low pressure cells pulling in. Okay, so we're going to leave these buffalo. Let's go over to Brent, who's got a very suspicious looking hyena.
So we've got something going on here. I can't see anything. Sebastian, what do you see? We heard a warthog squealing like it was being killed by something. We saw a hyena running in here, but it sounded like it was right here. Yeah. Where's the hyena? It's still behind us. So we weren't sure when we first heard it whether it was baboons or a warthog being caught by a leopard or a lion. But then as we came closer, we heard it definitely became a warthog squealing. So I'm just going to keep quiet. What I'm listening for is legs moving and fighting against something. Now there were tracks of the Birmingham boys all around, not far from here this morning on the main road. The hyena's going that side. Okay, let's go check there. This is very exciting. Very, very exciting. So, the fact that the hyena hasn't charged in makes me think it could be lions rather than leopard. You see the hyena? Where's the hyena now? It's just one of those things, we're just too far when we heard the squeals to pinpoint it, and by now, obviously whatever has the warthog has got it around the throat. Yes, we need one more squeal. We need one more squeal! Sorry, Peggy. I've lost sight of the hyena. There's something going on here. Let me see if I can find that hyena again. And with this wind gusting like this, it's really difficult to pinpoint what's going on. Oh, watch the thorns. That was a bit sore in my arm. Let's see where that hyena is again. It's just back here. And then I might have to switch off and listen again. Now, because whatever's got it, because we heard 3 or 4 squeals over while we were coming through the bush. There's the hyena there. Yeah, it's walking. Was that a hyena? Let's go have a look. Now, the fact that the hyena is not charging in makes me wonder if maybe one of those Birmingham boys slipped across the boundary during the day. Because then a hyena would think twice about charging in. There's the hyena, and it's moving away. Or it's being cautious. So there's the hyena. But I'd swear it's moving away from where the squeals were. So I wonder if there is a male lion somewhere in this bush. There we go. Off goes the spotted hyena. I'm going to head back to where I think those squeals were coming from. The K9 would like to know how many spotted hyenas are left in the world. A fair number. They are in most large wildlife reserves. There's healthy numbers of spotted hyenas. To an exact number of spotted hyenas, I'm not 100% sure, but I'd say they're healthy. Over 100,000 probably. Probably even a bit more. I'm not 100% sure though. Out of the big predators, the 2 that have the most stable numbers would be spotted hyena and leopard. With lions, wild dog, cheetah all having far less. So when we found the hyena, it was looking in there, and there's this really thick little patch here. I'm going to try to go around it and see from the other side. And there's a tawny eagle. There's another. No, it's a African harrier hawk, but it's calling. CNAC saying, did I smell anything? No, it's unlikely you're going to smell anything if it's just happening. There we go. That's the African harrier hawk calling. You can see how it's riding the wind there. I'm just trying to listen. What is going on here? Okay, I'm going to try get through this really thick stuff here now. We'll find a way through it and see what's happening on the other side. Now, as I said, the fact that that hyena moved away from where the squeals were means it could be 2 possible things. It could be a lion, a male lion in particular, or it could be a hyena. A more dominant hyena might have caught a warthog, found an injured warthog. Hold on, big hole's coming. There we go. So I would have said it was just in here. Okay, so I might have to get out and have a walk around here to see what's going on. So while I do that, let's go back to Steve, who's got a very brightly coloured bird.
Yes, we do, and we've managed to catch it. It's moved 3 or 4 times, and Senzo, with his magnificent eyesight, has managed to keep track of this beautiful, beautiful European bee-eater. Isn't it beautiful? There's only one of them here. They're often seen in flocks of up to 20 to even 50 birds. They've come all the way, most of them from Europe, some of them even from North Africa. They don't generally breed here, and they will be making the journey back up north in the next coming weeks. Normally late March, early April, they'll fly all the way back up to Europe. And there he goes. Very typical sort of behavior for bee eaters, to fly off like that, catch something, and then come back and land on a perch and smash whatever insect they might have caught. Mainly wasps, bees, and flying ants and flying alate termites are their food of preference. And in our summer months, those are in abundance. And as soon as they start to diminish, so these birds, and with the temperature change, decide it is time for the long journey all the way back to Europe. No passports, no stamps, no visa control. Off they go, all the way through Africa, because they can. Isn't that marvelous, folks? Eh? Where you didn't belong to anywhere. You just went as you see fit. I think that's magical. No airport food as well. Wouldn't that be great? Just bugs. Just bugs. But as with most of these migrant birds, there is again, Senzi, as is with most of these migrant birds that fly all the way to Europe, he will feed as much as he can, or she will feed as much as they can now and gain a huge element in weight. Up to 50% they can grow. Fat stores and energy for the long trip. They won't feed too much on the way. And of the juvenile bee-eaters, because most of them bred in Europe, of the juveniles that came down, only about 20%, maybe 30%, will actually make it back to Europe after the first time. So that's a very small proportion that make it back. But then those that do make it back are strong enough and will learn the route and be able to successfully come, hopefully, the next year. I believe James said this is his favorite bird because it is the bringer of summer, the bringer of the rains, and it is a very beautiful bird. In Europe, it is known as the bee-eater, not the European bee-eater, just the bee-eater, because they only have one, same as the European roller, is also known as the roller to them up there, and he's gone. Hello, Sinak. Interesting. Yes, we are going into autumn now, and yes, you say the bee-eaters have to return in spring. Well, you know, they don't arrive here in spring. They kind of arrive here in early summer. So the spring period and the autumn period is kind of their go-between. All depends on the food resources here and the temperature. And that's why when we discuss global warming, birds are very good indicators of global warming because they are staying longer in areas and moving later than they would have normally. So they'll be leaving soon, like I say, March, April, which is our autumn, and arriving back up in the north during spring. Because spring lasts for a few months. It'll only take them a few weeks to do the journey. So they'll be back in time for the season to have changed. And obviously you don't want to be arriving too early in Europe. What have you got, eh? The bird. Would you like to see the bird? There we go, Senzi. You just frame him, Mfo. We've got a beautiful bird there. If I actually go forward 2 meters, you'll be able to get both of the bird species that we see there. One is on the log, and one is on the log below him. Can you see the other one as well, Senz? That is the magpie shrike, or the long-tailed shrike. You hear them chirping and chattering in the background. They will not migrate. They will be here. Also feeding on insects. Part of the shrike family, as we have spoken about many times before. They like to impale things on hooks and on thorns, primarily to enable them to rip them apart. Let's see if we can get the buffalo weaver to the right there, Sense. Just punch in, go down a bit. On that log lying on the floor. There we go. There we go. There he is. The red-billed buffalo weaver. What is he feeding on there? Those of you who joined me on the walk this morning, you remember the tree that the elephant pushed over. There's another tree. And this bird is in amongst that dead tree that's been uprooted, and it's possible there's all sorts of insects that have found a home there. Who knows what insects exactly, but the buffalo weaver is an insect eater as well as a seed eater, and feeding in a little bird party on the floor. Very characteristic, with that red beak, that little white wing bar on the wing, and the red legs. You won't mistake that for any other bird. So when identifying birds, folks, very important to name all the characteristics you see through your binoculars before looking at your book. You can't just say it was black, because as you can see, we've got two black birds there. Both are very different. What else do you see? It had a very long tail. Okay, fantastic. Or it had a red beak. Okay, great. It had yellow or orange or red feet. A little white wing bar. Because you can see how the white wing bar you could confuse between that shrike and that buffalo weaver. So the beak, the color, the tail, all of those are things you need to look at when you're identifying birds. And while we continue on our journey for things amazing and unbelievable, let's go over to Taylor, who I believe has found something very, very special.
We have, and I cannot believe we found it all the way in South Africa. Aiden, I hope you're still watching. Don't those look like little green balls to you? And from my understanding, that is what a leprechaun's track looks like. I've never seen a leprechaun track before, so you're going to have to help me, Aiden. You're going to have to tell me if this is what leprechaun footprints look like. I thought it was quite weird. And if you have a look at these tracks, they're not very big, aren't they? They're quite small. So, quite close together. But where do the tracks go? They come out of the grass, because obviously the tracks are going this way. I mean, it's pretty obvious to be able to tell that. But then, where do they go? Did he fly away? Did he jump onto the rainbow and surf into the sky with his pot of gold? Because he would have needed some gold if he wanted to come to South Africa, Aiden, and I believe he stole the pot of gold at your school. How dare he? I think we're going to have to try and track him this afternoon. Sorry about that. Right, in the car we get. We have to get plugged in quickly, because we may have another surprise for you. Might not be a pot of gold, but it's an animal with a gold coat. Harley for Taylor. Let's see. Who's going to answer my calls? Dylan for Taylor. Now I don't think I can copy anybody on the radio, which is a problem. Let's go creep in. Right, sorry. Okay, I've got another surprise in store for you, so we're going to see if we can get hold of the Chitwa guides. We'll chat to you in a minute, but off you go to Steve, who's got the largest herd of the most common antelope.
Leprechaun tracks. Oh my goodness, how special is that? Well, we found a male impala, and look at what he's found. He has managed to secure himself an enormous harem of females with their offspring. There must be more than 50 females here. I would guess 50% of them are youngsters, plus minus. Some of them are young males, but all of the one-year-old males are gone. There is not a single one-year-old male here, or any male older than that. Just the November-born offspring. Some of them you can see have just got a little horn on the head. There we go. The back of the screen there's just the one guy. He's quite young. He's no threat to the male. So what this male has done, and we're coming into the rutting season. We haven't heard any of it yet. I was talking about it yesterday morning, I think. How the male impala are starting to declare their little territories. And their territories are based around food resource and access to water. And so these ladies have moved into this area to feed, and he will do everything in his power to make sure that they don't leave. But has he started too early? That's an interesting debate. Sometimes they'll demarcate these territories and end up losing so much condition before the females are even in breeding readiness. He's still got a month before they are ready, so he's kind of, I think he might have jumped the gun a little bit. But it would be really interesting. I'd love to be able to do some form of tagging mechanism where you can actually mark the males that have demarcated areas and see how long they last, because he's busy feeding at the moment, but soon there's going to be so many hormones in the air, he's going to forget about absolutely everything except for the females and the competition that other males are trying to come in and mate with the females he's secured. But we are going to stay with these impalas a moment longer. Let's go over to Taylor, who I believe is full of surprises.
Look who we've got, look who we've got. Not only are we finding leprechaun tracks today, we've been sent into the sighting of Tingana banana, which I'm sure all of you are very excited for, because we've been following him for the last few days and watching him get fatter and fatter. He was, of course, nibbling on a tortoise the other afternoon, and now he's got a determined look. He's definitely seen something, but the problem is, it looks like he's heading straight in towards Chitwa camp. Perhaps they've got a little bit of high tea left over, and that's what he's going after. Oh, he's on the move now. He's trotting away. Remember, there's lots and lots of different antelope species and things. Has he got one? Can you see? Oh, he's chasing waterback. We're basically between the fence now. Sheldon just said to me he could see some waterback we couldn't see. I was going to try to take a wide berth, and he said stand by. So he's still in there. They don't know what's there. Well, the waterback don't. Tingana obviously knows what's going on. But we're obviously between rain roofs, between the camp, between the elephant wire that we showed you earlier, where the pygmy kingfisher was sitting on top of. So we just need to be a little bit patient here to see what kind of happens. And it is important, of course, to limit your movements around here, because even though they ran, maybe they smelt him because the wind is swirling in here. I don't know if they would have heard Tingana, however. It's gusting quite a bit here. So we know that wind is great, just like Brent was explaining how we're not going to be able to hear alarm calls. Hopefully that wind will muffle his sound if he is moving quickly. He's got all that padding on his feet though, so he doesn't make a lot of noise when he runs on the ground like that. But if he is crossing through the grass or steps on a couple of leaves, that's going to crunch a little bit. Just thinking, you know, maybe we can go up here and have a look. We're not going to go too much closer. Age before beauty? Saying that's to Dylan, Brent's brother. Now, child of the universe, you're wondering, there's some more waterback over there. We'll have a look at. I don't know where Tingana's gone now. He's in the camp. You're wondering if they do often go into camps. Yes, they do. I mean, I've had some phenomenal leopard sightings. I'll never forget when I first started working at Sabi, the day that I arrived, a leopard by the name of Warthog Wallow was feasting on a cane rat right outside the entrance of Bush Lodge. We couldn't go into camp because she was there having her meal. So how cool is that? So they do spend a lot of time around camp. The antelope become quite relaxed. They're going in there to feed on the lovely lush vegetation because most of the lodges are watering the grass. So it's green, and we know in winter in this area there's no grass, there's no leaves on the trees. Well, there's minimal. There they go. We'll follow them. We'll just let the guides go first. Remember, we've got a camera so we can zoom in on the action. They've only got small cameras in comparison what we're able to do. What's your head here, Craig? So yes, child of the universe, they do. Leopards spend quite a bit of time in camp. I'm just checking my volumes on the radio. See, if he's gone into camp, there's not much we can do. He's definitely in here. Hello, Waterbuck, are you terrified? Where's the leopard gone? I'm going to just turn the game drive radio up again to see if I can hear Sheldon. So again, we are battling between fence and, of course, rain roof. Sheldon, do you have visual of him, or is he in the camp? Okay, copy, perfect. Will you give me a shot? I'm going to stand by here with these Piva. Cool. So Piva is waterbuck, in case you're wondering. The Shangani name for them. And you can see they're on high alert at the moment. Ears working overtime, noses also twitching, trying to pick up any scents. You can hear them even alarming. Sounds a little bit like a wildebeest, in fact. There's a fork-tailed drongo taking, I think, advantage of the situation. Fork-tailed drongo, everyone is terrified and fearing for their lives, and here you are just trying to get a meal. That's a bit inconsiderate. I'm just joking, of course. Fork-tailed drongo, any bird is going to take advantage of any situation. So Sheldon has just raced around to the other side of the dam. He said he could hear some bushbuck alarming, but couldn't pick up on anything. So now we just need to figure out where he's going to come out. I don't know if he'll stay in here. It's kind of hard to tell. Well, very, very exciting stuff here happening at Chitwa, Leopard in camp, waterbuck in camp. Are they going to flee, or is Tingana going to catch one of them? But off we go to Brent, who's been trying to solve his own mysteries this afternoon.
Well, quite a mystery it turned out to be. So we saw the one hyena there, and then I got off and I went and walked, and I found a mud wallow where a warthog had been sleeping, sort of just a very shallow one, and then there was blood, and I couldn't see any cat tracks. And then I walked a bit more, and I saw a warthog with a bite on its bum. And it wasn't like a cat bite, or because the cats have got claws, grip in. So I think, well, I can never be 100% sure, but I think happened, bless you, Sebastian. Thank you. Is what happened is, I think the hyena caught this warthog napping in the mud wallow and took a chance. And it was quite a big warthog. So, and then the squealing was while they were fighting, and then it escaped. Now, I don't know if it was the hyena we saw, because I didn't really see any blood, but there were only hyena and warthog tracks around. There weren't any leopard or lion tracks, and the fact that there was fresh blood on the ground at that wallow, that's what I think happened. The warthog ran this way, so I'm trying to find the warthog again. But also, it always pays to just hang around in an area where warthog's been distress calling, because those pig squeals, if there are any other lion or any other predators close by, those pig squeals will bring them in. So I'm just doing a loop around that area, and I actually am hoping to see if we can spot that warthog. Mina would like to do the hyenas in South Africa gather in packs, what they're called clans, like they do in the Mara. Yes, they do, but of course the nature of the bushveld here being a lot thicker, it's less visible. But yes, they do live in large family groups. And so where was I walking? Just up here. So a warthog ran off this way. Well, not the same wallow, but can you imagine if a warthog was having a really fat snooze in the mud, in something like that, and the hyena just happened to sort of walk right up to it and sort of grab it by the bum, take a chance. Absolutely fascinating. You never know what you're going to see or hear when you come out every day. Apparently, Steve is sitting on the ground admiring the floors, so let's go see what's so interesting about it.
Always admiring the floor, Brent. We always look at the floor for tracks and all sorts of signs and wonderful things with the sun setting in the background. Isn't that marvelous? So what we've done is we've stopped here next to a small termite mound, as you can see on my right-hand side. Lots of little holes as sort of entry points. And what we have found on so the sun's setting there, and what we found sort of on the northern side here is a whole lot of dung. And this dung is the dung of dwarf mongoose. And as we know, they like to live in termite mounds like this. And so quite often what we'll find is that they'll come out in the morning. As the sun comes up in the east over there, they'll probably be sitting here sitting in this area here doing their ablutions as the morning rays start to sort of warm themselves. And this is very, very prevalent in the winter months because it gets very, very cold in winter. So you'll often find them on the eastern side where their dung is formed in piles. But there's not a very big termite mound. So by standing here, they probably get both views, which is quite lovely. So the reason why we wanted to talk about this is we had the Nkuhumas 2 nights ago. I think it was 2 nights ago. We're up by Buffelshoek Dam. And they had a couple dwarf mongoose in the termite mound they were surrounding. And just as we went off air, and it was so funny to see, a group of the dwarf mongoose actually stood up and ran away with their normal little chicka-churr sort of sound. And the pride, including the adult female, she jumped up. She jumps up and chased them. And then we had the entire pride jump up and just chase dwarf mongooses in every sort of direction, even like trying to claw one down onto the floor as if it went into the hole, and then sort of peering under the paw to see if it had caught one. It was so funny to see the largest carnivore we have here trying to kill the smallest, but I think the dwarf mongoose were a little bit too quick for them, but it definitely piqued the interests of the lions, but I'm sure it would have just been a little hors d'oeuvre for them. But so dwarf mongoose are carnivores, the smallest carnivore we get here. So if we break open their dung just a little bit, there's all sorts of beetle shells in there, millipede shells. Can you see that over there? Kristen, I'd love to show you a mongoose track. So there's lots of beetles in here. There's some fruit as well. They've probably been eating, because I found a lot of these marula seeds around. A lot of the marula seeds around, but they haven't had the nut pulled out. So it's possible with all of this stuff here that it's the marula skin that's been chewed off just here by the termite mound, and the dwarf mongoose themselves. You can see on that one they've nibbled around it, but they haven't managed to get into the seed of that marula. So I've got 2 more here. I'm going to make friends now with Mr. Senzo on the back, because this is a true gift of friendship out in the African wilderness. We're going to continue on, and Kristen, I will try and find you a mongoose track. I will do my best. Let's have a quick little squiz while we are here. Maybe we'll see one immediately, but it is really good on bushwalk to find them. And the dwarf mongooses, when they run around, there's lots, sorry about the pole, when they run around, there's lots of them. They're quite small, the tracks like that. But if all else fails, I can always show you one in my magical little book. Let me show you one quickly here, and then we'll try and show you the real deal. Oh, Senzi, there we go, my friend, my brother. Okay, so Senzi and I are officially very good friends. Okay, so mongoose. Sorry, it'll take me a moment. Mongoose, dwarf mongoose 65. So here we have the track of the dwarf mongoose. You don't often see this bit here, that back proximal pad with that toe. That's not visible normally in the sand. Normally you just see this with the very characteristic claw marks, but you'll see quite a few of them in the form of dwarf mongoose or banded mongoose. That indicates that they are a group living, which makes it easy to identify for when you find something like the slender mongoose. Their track's a little bit bigger than the dwarf, and also very similar in size to the banded, but you'll find them on their own as they are solitary. Okay, so I'll help you to find one of them, but what's important to notice, if we just go back here, Sense, unlike cat tracks, mongoose tracks are not symmetrical. So if I had to cut this in half, the left-hand side would not mirror the right-hand side. When cats, that pretty much does work. Apart from a little bit of a skew back pad, a cat track is quite symmetrical, whereas a mongoose track, very asymmetrical there. Very, very sort of lopsided to one side. And that's what makes it easy to differentiate versus cats out here in the wilderness, especially the smaller cats such as Janet. Let's go on. I'd like to show you a mongoose track, and I'm sure we will at some stage. I didn't get that name. Bex, if you can just repeat the name for me, please. Swapna, interesting name. You don't know how you'd like to know how the mongoose digest the cyanide in the millipedes. I have no idea. I didn't know that they actually fed on millipedes, but I found it in their dung, so they must do it. Interesting. They must have, you know what happens with a lot of animals out here is they practice something known as coprophagy. So through generation, youngsters will eat the dung of the adults. And if the adult has managed to build up an immunity or stomach enzymes to cope with the millipede, then it's possible that by eating the dung of the adult, that youngster will be able to do the same thing. But the evidence was there. You could see it in the dung. I, to be honest, haven't actually examined dwarf mongoose dung too clearly in the past, but evidence of the millipedes now, because this is the time of year where you find millipedes. And if you do go to a civet dung or civetry where civets have their toilet, you can actually see the seasonality of the civet dung from the millipedes through to the fruit, through to the different times of year and what they are feeding on, even find the fur, because they use the same sort of area. I haven't found one in Djuma, a civetry, which I'm quite surprised. Okay, so because the hyenas were showing you all sorts of wonderful things with Brent, he forgot to give you the answer to the flower quiz. So let's go over to him and see what he is decided is the winner.
Yes, we forgot about that pretty little yellow flower. Fortunately, I still have it with us. And the person who got it spot on correct, well done to Judy H. It is indeed a Justicia flava, the yellow Justicia. Well done. Now, Steve was wondering how certain mammal species are enabled to digest the cyanide that occurs in millipedes. It's strange enough the same type of cyanide, the hydrogen cyanide, that you get in acria and monarch butterflies as well. But so civets, certain mongoose species, and certain forest duiker species all feed off millipedes heavily, and their pancreas creates an amylase and with a specialized enzyme in it that breaks down the cyanide into unharmful components. So for those of you who are wondering about that, that is how it happens, how it works. So my plan is to now give up on the southeast, on the east. I'm going to go to the west. I haven't spent much time in the west yet, and I'm going to go along the boundaries, and I'm going to see if I can find any tracks of Shadow. Maybe Shadow's hanging around her favorite little corner between where all the reserves join. So fingers crossed we find some fresh leopard tracks. But you have been quite spoilt with leopard already, with Tingana and Xidulu. Zwake, who's a new viewer, welcome to your very own live safari, Zwake. We are in the Sabi Sands Game Reserve. Actually, should we start small or big? Should we start big and come down, or should we start small and go out? What do you think, Seb?
Go big.
Go big. Okay. We're on planet Earth. We're on the African continent. We're in the country of South Africa. We're on the eastern province of the country of South Africa called Mpumalanga, which basically means Mpuma is comes out or leaves, and Langa is sun. So on the east where the sun rises, we are in the Greater Kruger National Park, which is 2.7 million hectares of unfenced wilderness. And if we get smaller than that, we're in the Sabi Sands Game Reserve, which is unfenced with Kruger, and that is about 60,000 hectares. And we are right in the northeastern sections of the Sabi Sands Game Reserve. We operate on two incredible properties. One is called Djuma Private Game Reserve, and the other is Chitwa Private Game Reserve. And this is coming to you live, in case you were wondering. There we go. Rebecca wanted me to start small. No, hyena. But I decided to start big. Sorry, Bex. Aaron says, am I driving straight with my steering wheel rotated? Yes, I am, Aaron. These roads don't need to do, well, these vehicles don't need to go down too many main roads, so yes, it's not quite ideal. It's because Tristan, and Byron. And Steve, has Steve bent the steering arms recently?
No, I don't think so.
Tristan and Byron. Apparently Tristan and Byron have been bending a lot of steering arms. We're waiting for some more spares. So at the moment the steering arms we've straightened ourselves and put back. A couple of you will remember quite a while ago, VM and I were following Kruger and we saw her catch a diker. And to get us into that position, I bent the steering arm on this very vehicle. But Ellie's, yay! Good spot there. So, what? I will finish the steering arm story just now. Because we have an elephant! Hello, little one. Where's the rest of your herd? Are you lost? Or they're just somewhere close by and we can't see them in the thick bushes. There are tracks of another elephant crossing just ahead of us. You get left behind. Silly thing. Don't look sheepish. It's not my fault you got left behind. Don't shake your head at me now because you're feeling silly. So you can see how it's smelling as it goes, even though it's picking grass. And when it comes out to the road, you'll see it's following the tracks of another elephant right there. So there we go. Oh, yes, yeah. I did not separate you. You got left behind all by yourself, mister. Oh, yes. Yeah, nonsense. Blaming other people for being left behind. Silly little Ellie. You could just see he was going to give us a little head shake from the beginning. So he's gone visiting our southern neighbours. So while he keeps moving, as I can't see the rest of the herd, so they've obviously moved quite far, and I think he's going to keep moving as well. I'll tell you about that. We actually managed to take the steering rod out and we put it into a big Timbwiti tree and we straightened it, put it back on the vehicle and carried on with drive. That was quite fun. In the meantime, let's go. Who's with hippopotamus?
Oh my goodness, Brent, I think the whole world wanted you to stop talking. Just joking. Now, we have a crocodile, whether it's Vladimir or Boris, I'm not sure, but the other one is sitting on the island in the middle, which we can't see. Something that we will be able to show you, however, is a man that I worked with once before, and his name is Sheldon. You hear me say Sheldon often, but have you ever seen him? So let's have a look at Sheldon. Sheldon has been growing that beard since he was 6 years old, and he sprouted his first facial hair. There he is, everybody. Sheldon, you're on candid camera. There we go. So that's Sheldon. Now you know who Sheldon, well, not who Sheldon looks like. Sheldon looks like Sheldon. He's got a beard and he twirls it. I've actually heard that often he has to leave his guests and, you know, head off and someone's got to entertain for the rest of the evening because he's got to twirl them 266 times every night to get the curvature of the beard. Pretty amazing, hey? Okay, I'm done talking nonsense. Do you mind if I go past you?
Sorry for crashing your party. I guess I'll just come join you with the crocodile.
Well, please, you can have the crocodile. I'm going to go all the way around and do another loop and see if we can get Tingana coming out again. I'll give you a shout. Bye, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, says the guests. There you go. So there's Sheldon. Very happy character. Of course, I was only talking absolute nonsense about the whole beard thing. I mean, who grows a beard at 6 years old? And so what we're going to do is, I've obviously just told you my plan. You just overheard me. We're going to do another loop all the way along Chitwa Dam. And then we're going to go to that little crossing where we had Tingana the other night, outside room 11. And go back through the Mulwanini up around and sort of into the area where we lost him, because he hasn't come out yet. Everyone else has moved out of the area. I think Sheldon might be doing one more loop. We'll do a few more. I don't think we need to move out of this area. I think if we're patient enough, we'll eventually get Tingana coming out. Let me just go around here. So that's going to be exciting. Goodness, and the wind howls. It's like I'm in a vortex of just wind. No animals here at all. Eloise, now you've put me under pressure. You've asked, what is the weirdest animal fact that I know? That Lizards have hemipenes, a forked penis, essentially. It's quite weird. I don't know now. I can't think. Here's another crocodile, though. Here's a crocodile this one. I think this is the male. I can't remember which one's which, though. If Vladimir is the girl or Boris is the girl. But the bigger one is definitely the boy. They're much larger than the females. There he is. This one is much bigger than the other one we just saw. Now, Belinda, from down under, you were wondering, how many crocs live at this here dam? I can't do an Australian accent. Craig, can you do one?
No.
That was so South African, says Craig. No. Belinda, as far as I'm aware, is his mom and dad. Like I said, they've been named Vladimir and Boris, but perhaps somebody can help me out and remind me which one is which. Like I said, the bigger one is going to be the boy and the smaller one is going to be the girl, even though they've both got male names. But we know there's a trend with the Wild Earth team because we have a female speech-singed tortoise named Gregory. And then there's Snappy. Snappy is not the little crocodile's official name. I just thought, why wouldn't you call it Snappy? They did have some crocodilettes. What do you call a baby crocodile, Craig? Hatchlings? Probably, hey. But that's not as fun. So yeah, so sometimes we see Snappy around as well. And I'm sure there might be a few other little ones that we just haven't spotted. They could be hanging around the reeds trying to hide away, because when crocodiles are young, if there's any big herons about, they'll get gobbled up by them, and even other crocodiles. Bigger crocodiles will eat little crocodiles. But let's carry on. Let's keep going. I don't want to sort of move too far away from the lodge in case Tingana does come out and we need to get him again. The hippos are moving. We did have a big hippo bull. He was opening up his mouth and doing all sorts of shows for us, but he just disappeared. He got distracted by a lady. Now, I can't think of any more weird things about animals, but I'm going to get thinking, and maybe that will just be the theme for the rest of the drive, the last hour and a bit. But off you go to Steve to find out if, he's not got anything bizarre to tell you.
Thank you, Taylor. We have got a beautiful kudu, and I'm trying to think of any bizarre animal facts. One thing that I find very interesting, I don't think it's bizarre, but I really enjoy it, is that mongooses like to show dominance and to get their alpha position through what they call a groom-off. So those who would like to be dominant will sit together and they will start grooming each other. For example, Senzo and myself, we start grooming and cleaning each other, and it gets very, very intense. And the first one to stop the grooming loses, and the one who wins the groom-off becomes the dominant individual. I find that to be an amazing animal fact, and I do apologize about the poll. These two kudus, at least one female and a young male. Two females, it seems. Enjoying the browse of the trees at the moment, while the summer conditions are upon us. They are making themselves nice and fat for the winter months. Let me see if I can move forward and get us a better view of them with their passenger oxpeckers. I'm surprised to see how relaxed these kudu are when the wind is like this. Normally they're very, very jumpy. The last few times I've actually looked at kudu with the vehicle, they haven't stayed around for very long. And that was without wind. There you can see the young male. He's only about 6 months or so old. What about the metal structure behind? That is the pump house where we get the water from. Marvelous kudus with their beautiful ears. Resident oxpeckers. There's a juvenile oxpecker in the front. You can see how it does not have the coloration on the face. That would just have fledged from the nest very recently. And the kudus do what they normally do, and that is run into the thickets. Can you hear the oxpeckers? Nature's warning sign. For those of you who have not heard oxpeckers before, allow me to play it for you. I was actually commenting the other day that I've given up on oxpeckers in this area because they're not that reliable. When I worked up in the northern Kruger, they were very reliable because, especially the yellow-billed, because they always indicate large animal, which the large animal would be a buffalo. So here's the yellow-billed if you have not seen it before. Actually got a half yellow and half red beak, where the red-billed is completely red, and these ones pick the ticks rather than comb through the fur, which the red-billed do. So you often find the yellow-billed on sort of more thin-haired animals such as giraffe, rhino and buffalo. And have a listen to this, excuse me, because this in the bush could save your life. Something you have to learn as a guide very early on. And on the Trails Guide courses that we used to run, if a student was leading the trail, he was walking, and we were standing at the back, because when they're leading, they're in charge. We obviously are backing them up if need be, but they need to be able to do it on their own. And every time they missed an oxpecker call, if you hear it, you just go, oxpecker, and if every time they missed it, they lost 30 points. 30 points is a lot. It's a lot of points. Actually, I'm going to go back and go down Leopard. No, let's go this way. We'll go past. We're on an area. This is where we used to have Tundi all the time with her cub. It's actually quite strange not having a leopard right here. I always go through the drainage lines here, or the river crossing quietly and slowly in hope that we will see someone just sort of sitting there looking at us. So the red-billed oxpecker's call is very similar, and when they fly off of animals, they not only alarm you, but they alarm the animal. And that is a very good idea of what is lurking in the bushes. But out here, we generally only find the oxpeckers on kudu and impala, because we don't see too many buffalo in the area. But we're going to go over to Brent and see what he believes to be what is going on here. We've got a serious bird party of red-billed buffalo weavers. Sorry, I'm not going to go anywhere, Bex. There's a huge party of them here. Look at all these red-billed buffalo weavers and the magpie shrike. There's a fantastic amount of them, all landing in the road. I've never seen this amount of red-billed buffalo weavers before. The grass is seeding, and the seeds are falling into the road, and they are coming along and plucking them up at will. And obviously it's much more beneficial to feed in a bird party like this, because if a sparrowhawk or any sort of small accipiter comes along to eat you, hopefully they'll get your friend and not you. So more eyes and more ears. I did some studies with pigeons and peregrine falcon, and they basically took a peregrine falcon that was a tame one, and they would let it go from a certain distance, and they first would have one pigeon at the waterhole, and then they slowly increased that number. And the more pigeons were there at the waterhole, the further away it was that they were able to spot the peregrine, and the less likely it was to be successful in its hunt. The fewer the pigeons, the more success there was in the hunt of the peregrine. So the eyes and the ears are very, very important, and that is why we see lots and lots of animals hanging out together. Marvelous. Okay, well, we're going to go over to Brent and see what the funniest or craziest animal fact he has for you.